What's going on, guys? We're back with another engine mount video. I told you there'd be a part 2. Here it is, part 2. So what we did was we ordered 4 of, I don't know, I guess kind of the top selling engine mounts for SR20 KA engines. And I sized them up again and wrote down some notes, did some pros and cons. We did not go physically install all these for a couple reasons. First reason was I'm not trying to scratch all these engine mounts before I sell them. Second reason is the shop's getting redone right now and we moved the car already. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna compare to the measurements we already got from the last video. So if you didn't already see that, make sure you go check that one out. And we can pretty much tell which mount is gonna sit higher or lower based on the other results and the thickness of each mount. So. The first mount we're going to start with is the ISR Performance adjustable engine mounts. I don't know if they advertise them like that, but they are adjustable. I'll show you guys real quick how these are adjustable. Basically, there's 2 big washers on each side of the engine mount. They're all the same washer, but these washers can be removed. So if you want to go lower, you take one off. If you want to go even lower than that, take one off from the top. So basically there's 3 sizes with this mount. Now if you watched our last video, you will already know the sizes of a stock mount, but I'll give you a general idea of what a stock KA SR engine mount is. It's basically 68 millimeters thick. So that's our starting point. Now a Nismo SR KA Nismo mount is 72.4 millimeters average between right and left. So the ISR can actually go from 76 millimeters in thickness to 64 millimeters in thickness. So this is by far the tallest engine mount and the lowest engine mount. Just, you know, just for the record. It's also the ugliest engine mount, so there's that. So that's on the con list. No. If someone said, I need you to put this in your car, I'd say no. But if you really need your engine to sit low because of some crazy hood you got, this is going to be the one. Another thing about this engine mount is it is polyurethane. I'm assuming it's polyurethane. I don't know for a fact, but it's very, very stiff rubber. So what happens with these kind of mounts is usually you get crazy vibrations in the car. So usually people who have race car setups, dedicated drift cars, they're the ones that would go for something like this. So that's all there really is to say about this. It's super simple. There's just a bolt, a piece of rubber, and washers on it. It's very simple. It works. I did mention that I think it's going to scratch very, very easily. It looks like it's just, I don't know if it's powder coat or anodized, but it's aluminum, the washer. So if you scratch this with you know, the engine mount bracket or anything, it's gonna scratch up pretty fast. Probably won't rust because I'm sure this is aluminum, but just something to think about. But yeah, anyway, orange? Who made that call? I don't know. Moving on. The next engine mount we are going to talk about is Cusco engine mount. Yes, it might be Cusco. I don't know. We call it Cusco. This engine mount is beefy. I will say that. I didn't weigh any of these, but holy shit. Honestly, this is by far the heaviest mount we have here. And this is the lightest. Yeah. So anyway, Cusco engine mount. What can I say about these? Well, they're definitely really nice quality. There's a couple brands that make mounts like this where they have, you know, 2 bolts running through them and 2 pieces of rubber instead of just 1 solid piece of rubber. Some companies like to divide it into 2 pieces. I'm not sure what the benefit of that is, but I have seen engine mounts like this from Torque Solutions for WRX and STIs that are very similar to this. They might have replicated the Cusco ones, honestly, but it's just a different design. I mean, you can compare it to this because this is what a stock mount looks like. So this is a little bit thinner, nowhere near the ISR one. That's like a totally different design. To be honest with you, while we're talking about this, look at the amount of surface area you have on top of that for the engine mount bracket to sit on, and then look at the amount of surface area you have for this to sit on the subframe compared to something like this, where you have this entire piece. You even have a guide pin on there so that the engine bracket sits perfectly straight. On something like the ISR mount, you don't have any of that. You might as well just put hockey pucks in as your engine mount, because that's what we used to do. So this is basically, if you're going to do hockey puck engine mounts, you might as well just buy the ISR one. It's cheaper, and you save some time. But if you want a good quality piece, you're probably going to be looking at something, to the right of this one or this one. This is definitely the nicest quality, I would say, out of all of them as far as design goes. You even have brackets on, this is just I believe this is the left-hand side, but you have brackets for the OEM wire harness on the right side, and on the left side you have an exhaust heat shield bracket that bolts up to this as well. So you can bolt everything as it was from the factory. Now, what are the downsides to this engine mount? Well, I have not used this myself, but I have heard that these are the most harsh out of all of them, I would say. You're gonna get more vibrations. I don't know if that's a fact. If you want, you can hit up my buddy Damon, also known as Camryon Bronze on Instagram. He is the one that I remember saying that these were crazy when he installed them in this car. He said they vibrated like crazy and it was just very rough. I kind of believe him from what I'm looking at here. I don't know what kind of rubber they used, but I don't know if it's polyurethane, but I remember I wanted to use these very badly because they sit, from what we heard, they sat the lowest out of all of them. But I also remember reading how harsh they were, and that's what drove me away from them, because I had a street car and not a dedicated track car. If you have a dedicated track car, this is another good option for you because the vibrations are going to be a little worse. As far as thickness, where did these come in? 65.5 millimeters. So basically lands in between the highest and lowest setting for this. So the ISR performance is still lower by 1 millimeter than this at its lowest setting, which is pretty impressive because, like I said, this was the lowest sitting engine mount for a long time, and then ISR Performance came out with these, and since they're adjustable, they were able to get them lower. That was a lot for a Cusco mount. I just like Cusco, so that's I'd love to sell more of these, but when you got brands like the other ones on the table, people tend to go for the cheap stuff. So, but if you're looking for something quality, you don't mind vibrations or harshness, I would go for the Cusco. It sits low too. Moving on, we have DMAX SR20 replacement engine mounts. Now these can fit for KA as well, but in Japan they only have SRs, so that's how they sell them. Now this engine mount is very similar to the stock design. Both of these last two engine mounts are. This is the J replace, and this is the DMAX. Very few differences between these as far as how they work or function. They also have mounting tabs for the wire harness bracket and the heat shield brackets. So they also have locating pins for the engine mount brackets and for the subframe on the bottom, just like the factory ones. Both right and left DMAX mounts are zinc coated on the bottom and on the top where the hardware connects to, which is a very nice touch. To be honest with you, the quality of this engine mount is better than the Nismo one. So that's pretty impressive, I would say. They basically took a factory mount. They definitely increased the stiffness. I don't have any numbers here, but I know it's supposed to be stiffer than factory. And they just made a more quality piece. So definitely one to consider. There is a difference between the right and the left mount for the DMAX one, which is the same as factory. The right mount is always slightly higher, and that's the same for these. So you're looking at 70.4 and 70.8. It's not anything drastic, but it's just something to mention. So average 70.6 for these engine mounts. Unfortunately, these are the tallest sitting engine mounts out of all of them, unless you take into account this at its full height. Yeah, this one at its full height is still the tallest no matter what. We'll go over all of it at the end. But yeah, DMAX is definitely a good option. I wish I could tell you more about these, but we literally just brought these to the US. I have not seen these available ever in my life in the US. So we haven't been able to really test these out yet. I'm assuming they're gonna act very similar to Nismo mounts though. So we'll see. All right, the last mount we have here is the J-Replace. This is a engine mount that I believe Injuku is making. That's probably some industry info I shouldn't have released, but just like ISR Performance, Injuku does have a couple brands that they produce, and this is their newest brand, J-Replace. You guys have probably seen some of their stuff on the internet. They're making, I believe they're making fenders, they're making just a lot of OEM components, and it looks like they're going to the same place or somewhere nearby that actually constructs the OEM stuff. Because I would say this looks pretty similar to the OEM Nismo mount. Not so much the construction, but the quality. Like it looks like this is just spray painted black on here. Like if you scratch this will probably end up rusting pretty fast. The quality is definitely low on these, but from what it looks like, they're probably gonna be pretty decent. So I have a feeling that we're gonna sell a lot of these mounts due to the price and due to the height. But yeah, the height of these mounts is 69.3. Same thing as the DMAX ones. OEM mounts for wire harness and heat shields on these as well. The construction is very OEM-like. You guys are not gonna have any problems with these mounts. They look like they're pretty good. Again, have not been tested. Who knows? Maybe I'll strap these on an engine and it'll fall apart. I don't know yet, but very similar in quality to the DMAX. I do think the DMAX is higher quality. Just from looking at it and holding it, I've been holding a lot of engine mounts lately, so it's, you know, I'm pretty familiar with these things, and I would say that the DMAX one is literally the best quality engine mount I've held yet out of all the stock ones and the Nismo ones. Okay, so as we mentioned before, the ISR Performance one is the lowest sitting mount, for sure, out of all four of these. So if you want the lowest engine, if you need your engine to sit as low as possible, I don't know what your situation is. Maybe you got a vented hood, or you have an engine swap and you can still use stock mounts, then this would probably be your only option if you're really trying to get it as low as possible. Also, if you're trying to get the engine as high as possible, another option is the ISR Performance one, because it sits at 76.2 millimeters at its tallest height. So this is definitely going to be the tallest one. I actually have a chart here where we'll put it up on the screen where we can, basically we're gonna compare every engine mount we've done so far. ISR Performance 64.4, J-Replace 69.3, Cusco 65.5, and DMAX 70.6 between the two, left and right. DMAX is the only one that has a slight difference between right and left, and they are labeled when you get them. Cusco is different right to the left. You're gonna see the mount is shaped a little different. The skinnier mount is the exhaust side, and the wider one that's like a square like this is the intake side. And I think, yeah, J-Replace sends out these mounts as one part number. So you use either one for right or left. And I mean, come on. There's nothing. This is just a hockey puck basically. So there's no right or left with that. All right, so anything I forgot here? I mean, we talked about the quality with pretty much all of them. I do think this is gonna scratch easily, but it's aluminum, so you'll be good. I do think the J-Replace one is going to scratch or chip easily, and it is definitely not aluminum, so it probably will rust eventually. Again, this is my assumption. I'm not claiming any of that to be a fact. This is just going off of what I'm looking at. I would like to say Cusco is great quality, but to be honest with you, I can already see surface rust forming on some of this, and it hasn't even been used. So this is gonna end up rusting as well, depending on what kind of damage or what kind of hell you put it through. And then we have DMAX, and to be honest, I still say DMAX is probably the highest quality at all these, which is funny because a lot of DMAX stuff is made overseas, but I'll be straight up with you, all of this is probably made overseas. Maybe the Cusco one isn't. I can't prove that. I can't prove it. It doesn't say made in Japan on the box, but I can guarantee you this ain't made in America. I can guarantee you these aren't made in America. The only questionable one is whether this is, or Japan, and I can guarantee that this, I can't guarantee anything with this. This one might actually be made in Japan, I don't know, but these are, guys, they all go to the same place and get these made. That's why they look exactly the same. So, it's not the same exact factory, but it's either somewhere in China or Taiwan making a lot of this stuff. But it's all about quality control. If they're paying the extra money and going the extra mile to make sure that the company that's making them is doing a good job, that's all that matters. And the DMAX one is definitely the best quality out of all of them from what I can see. Like I said, I personally have not ran any of these mounts. So I can't tell you offhand which ones are gonna survive the test of time, but just going off of first glance, the DMAX one is definitely better quality. Cusco is second. I would say these are pretty much on the same scale, ISR and J replace. I would even go to say the ISR one is probably better quality just because it looks like this is anodized aluminum, and if it's aluminum, it's probably not gonna rust. So we did pros and cons when we were going over them. The only stiffness percentage I actually have on any of these is the J replace, and they claim 30% stiffer over stock. So that's the only one that has any kind of data on any of these mounts. Now, last but not least, prices. So, ISR Performance, MSRP $105 for a pair of these. Cusco mounts, MSRP $240. Everything Cusco is more money, guys. You're paying for the name, you're paying for the brand, you're paying for all the engineering that's put into these things. That's how it goes. DMAX, MSRP on our website is $225. J replace, MSRP $100. And it's not $100 for 2 engine mounts. It's $100 for 2 engine mounts and a transmission mount. They're just trying to put everyone else out of the game. So this is by far the cheapest engine mount, is the J replace one. So I don't know what they're doing down there in Florida, but they figured something out, because those look pretty decent and they are by far the cheapest engine mounts you can buy right now. So now, in case anyone gives a shit, which one would I put on my car? DMAX. I'm 99% sure. DMAX is about the same thickness as a CA18 Nismo mount, and this is definitely better quality than the CA18 Nismo mount from Nissan. So I would say this DMAX mount is the one I would put on my car. Now, if I was in a situation where I needed a super low engine mount, I'm still not putting this on my car. No, I don't know, maybe. If I had to, I guess if I had to, I would use this. I mean, it's gonna work. We know it's gonna work. I don't know how stiff it's gonna be. I don't know what my car's gonna feel like. It's gonna feel crazy in there. It's gonna vibrate like a mother. Now that I'm thinking about it, if I really needed my engine to be low, I'd probably go J replace. This is the second lowest engine mount, and it is OEM, at least OEM spec, but it says it's 30% stiffer, so I don't expect this to vibrate as much as, let's say, an old Megan Racing mount. Those Megan Racing mounts were terrible. They looked exactly like these, but it was like they were made out of solid steel or something. They just vibrated the shit out of your car. Hopefully that's not the case with both of these. I don't think it will be, but only the test of time will tell. If you guys have any of these mounts on your car, please leave a comment and help other people out. I notice a lot of people are in the comments, they're leaving their own reviews about stuff, they're talking about their own situations. Our last engine mount video got a bunch of comments. That's awesome, guys. I mean, that's the whole point of the video. We're trying to get some more information out there, see if you guys know anything that we don't know, get you guys talking in the comments, and you know, maybe we can figure more information out. We don't have the forums anymore. Those days are over. So now we're doing all this basically through YouTube and Facebook groups. So yeah, leave a comment below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, please. A lot of you are not subscribed. We have the percentage, we have the numbers. So please subscribe if you can. If you're watching these videos, it would help us out a lot. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace. And don't forget, all of these engine mounts that you saw here today can be purchased at factionmotorsports.com, and we have them in stock, always. Buy again. Ow. Oh my God. I don't know. There's so many engine mounts.
There you go, spit it out.
Save that for later. I don't know. I can't get rid of it. I just put it in my mouth. It's a waste of money.